Trump just scored the biggest foreign policy victory since Reagan crushed the Soviets. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's most powerful aide is dodging subpoenas, the White House is scrambling, and Democrats are in full-blown panic mode. So while President Trump was busy annihilating Iran's underground nuke labs with bunker busters that struck targets the size of a washing machine, the Bidens' inner circle was melting down. They were caught between leaked memos and disappearing documents, and one top aide who refuses to say whether Joe Biden was even awake during his final months in office. Now, it's all happening right now. This is not just a political win. This is a collapse of the very machine that tried to lie to the American people for 4 years. Now, today, I want to break down the truth about Operation Midnight Hammer, the Patriot missile defense that made history, the deep state's media humiliation, and how Joe Biden's so-called work husband, Anthony Bernal, may be the key to the entire Biden cover-up, guys. Now, stick around because in just a couple minutes, you're going to hear what one former White House insider just admitted on live TV about what Bernal saw behind closed doors and why the FBI is now circling Congress in a hunt for the leaker who tried to sabotage President Trump's win. This is a takedown of lies, of fake news, and of course, the corrupt system that protected Joe Biden for way too long. Trump is back and the cover up is finally collapsing. By the way, if you appreciate the daily updates, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. So let's go ahead and start with what will probably go down as one of the boldest military decisions of the modern era, a moment that showed the world that America is no longer negotiating with weakness and that President Donald J. Trump is not here to play games. Guys, we're talking about Operation Midnight Hammer, a top secret mission planned for over 15 years, executed in mere minutes, and now confirmed by every credible source to be an overwhelming success, actually. The target, Fordow, a heavily fortified Iranian nuclear site buried deep inside of a mountain, a facility built to be untouchable, a site that Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and the entire international community tiptoed around for over a decade. But President Trump did not tiptoe. He pulled the trigger. He greenlit the mission, and within hours, Iran's most secure nuclear facility was reduced to dust. This was not a reckless stunt. This was a strategic masterpiece. 15 years of surveillance, geology reports, satellite recon, even analysts of airflow patterns and construction debris. U.S. intelligence teams, both under Democratic and Republican administrations, studied every inch of that mountain. Then President Trump used that data to drop the hammer. U.S. and Israeli intelligence have essentially confirmed what the Biden White House never could. Fordow is out of commission for years. But don't take my word for it, guys. Iran itself admitted it. Their own officials publicly confirmed that their nuclear installations have been badly damaged, blaming American and Israeli aggregators. Okay? So, guys, this is not spin. This is surrender. And this didn't just neutralize a nuclear threat. It sent a message across the world. America's back. Trump is back. And weakness is no longer our foreign policy. And if you think that was impressive, just wait until you hear how accurate these strikes were. Guys, I'm talking about bombs hitting targets the size of a washing machine that are 300 feet underground. You can't even make this stuff up. This wasn't just a win. This was a clinic, a tactical, technical, and strategic showcase for the entire world. Let me break it down. So the ventilation shaft at Fordow, comment down below if anybody has ever seen that movie with Tom Cruise, Maverick. It's like it's Top Gun, the Top Gun 2. This is almost like that. If you remember that movie, holler at me in the comments, because the exact process points to Iran's nuclear chambers that were targeted with a level of precision that sounds almost unbelievable. One shaft, the size of a standard washing machine, located hundreds of feet beneath a mountain, and our pilots hit it dead center. On the first strike, missed that hole by even a few feet, and the whole mission would have been a failure, right? But this is the Trump era military, and we don't miss. The Air Force dropped over 120,000 pounds of specialized bunker-busting munitions, weapons designed and tested over a decade. They even rehearsed the strike on dummy mountains built to match Fordow's geology. This wasn't a shot in the dark. This was engineered perfection. And again, going back to the movie Maverick with Tom Cruise, they practiced it too, and then they executed. I swear it was almost like the movie was foreshadowing what they executed just recently. Anyway, so when Iran launched its retaliatory missile barrage at our largest base in the region, guess what happened? Nothing happened, because American patriots and missile crews, standing side by side with their Qatari allies, they intercepted every single incoming missile, one by one. Flawless execution, no deaths, no damage. In fact, this was the largest single Patriot engagement in U.S. military history. Let that sink in, guys. The kind of event that would normally dominate global headlines if the media wasn't too busy running cover for Biden's collapse. But here's the part that they just cannot spin. The mission was perfect. It wasn't just a victory on the battlefield. It was a moral victory, a psychological victory, and a moment of American reawakening. So this wasn't about destruction for destruction's sake. This is about showing our enemies that peace only comes when you respect power. And under President Trump, America's power is strategic, precise, and unwavering. And just when Trump was showing the world how it's done, right here, back at home, the Biden holdovers were unraveling. The media didn't want to talk about it, but we will, because Jill Biden's closest aide, the so-called work husband, just refused to testify under oath, and the subpoena is already on the way. Now, if you're like millions of Americans who are struggling with Medicare confusion, you know how it feels to want to just give up, right? That was Julie's story in Kansas. She got locked into this terrible plan from a local broker who charged her more just to see her doctor. It felt like a trap up until she called Chapter. And Sharon Bertusik, she got kicked off of Medicaid and thought she was out of options. But Chapter stepped in, and now Sharon pays $0 in premiums, $0 for medication, and her doctor visit copay, it dropped from $89 to $20. Julie, she's now saving $400 a year with no more scam brokers in her life. These are not isolated stories, guys. This is just what Chapter does, and they're free. I don't even understand at this point why so many people haven't reached out to them yet. So here's your chance. Give them a call right now, 909-563-8279, or visit them on the web at askchapter.org/Ron. I'll leave a link down below. Ask your questions, get honest answers, and finally be able to breathe again. And remember, they're free. So now, while President Trump, he's stacking win after win after win on the world stage, here at home, the former regime, Biden's old inner circle, they're in full meltdown mode. And at the center of this collapse is a man you've probably never voted for, never heard of, never heard interview. Well, you probably have heard of him, but you never heard interviewed, and you never saw in front of a camera, but who many have held more power than anyone in Biden's orbit not named Jill. I'm talking about Anthony Bernal, Jill Biden's top aide, longtime confidant, and the man known throughout Washington, D.C. as her work husband. Now, I don't know how far that work husband stuff goes, but I'll just leave it there. Now, this isn't tabloid gossip. This is straight from White House insiders. Bernal wasn't just a staffer. He was a gatekeeper, a handler, and according to former insiders, the most powerful unelected figure in the West Wing. So when a congressional committee requested that Bernal appear for a closed-door interview to discuss Joe Biden's final months in office, you would think, given his position and proximity, he would comply, especially since executing privilege was waived by the Biden camp, right? So what did Anthony Bernal do? He refused. He just flat out refused to show up, refused to cooperate, and that silence speaks volumes. Because if the Bidens had nothing to hide, if Joe Biden was sharp, stable, and fully running the country, wouldn't Bernal be eager to just go ahead and clear the air? Instead, we have the opposite. We got a man who spent years inside the Biden family's inner sanctum. now running from accountability like somebody who knows the truth would burn the White House down. So let's not forget, the Oversight Committee isn't guessing. They're armed with emails, documents, and witness testimony, and they're making it clear Bernal is no longer above scrutiny. Chairman James Comer recently responded instantly. He announced that a formal subpoena is on the way, and if Bernal continues to hide, the legal pressure is only going to intensify. So why is all of this important? Because Anthony Bernal had firsthand, unfiltered access to Joe Biden behind closed doors. That's why. During meetings, family trips, in private living quarters, even in medical emergencies, he wasn't separated by layers of control. He was right there. He was watching Joe Biden up close, watching what the American people were kept from seeing. So again, we got to ask, what did this guy see, right? Why is he refusing to talk? And more importantly, who is protecting him now that Biden is out and Trump is back in charge? Now, if you're wondering why all of this feels like a cover-up, it's because it is. But it gets even deeper. It gets even deeper because someone who worked directly under Bernal is now spilling the truth. And what he just said about the culture inside the Biden White House, it's sending shockwaves throughout Washington. Meet Michael LaRosa, former press secretary to Dr. Jill Biden, and a man who reported directly to Anthony Bernal during the 2020 campaign and the first 2 years of Biden's presidency. So this guy was pretty connected. This week, LaRosa made headlines for doing something we rarely see from Democrat insiders. He broke ranks, and what he revealed paints a devastating picture of what life was really like inside the Biden bubble. So first, he confirmed what many suspected, but few dared to say out loud. Anthony Bernal was the most powerful figure in Biden's orbit. When Bernal spoke, it was often unclear whether it was him or Jill Biden speaking. He was the one that was guarding access to the president, especially as concerns about Joe Biden's health began growing behind closed doors. And here's a kicker. LaRosa didn't just say Bernal had power. He described a systemic culture of secrecy and evasion. Now, according to LaRosa, there was a reflexive, almost paranoid instinct within the Biden camp to hide, spin, and deflect. Not just on major issues like mental decline, but on everything. Even the family dog biting staff members. That's right, guys. We're talking about a White House that was so obsessed with image control that they couldn't even be honest about a dog bite. And now they want us to believe that they would be transparent about who actually was running the country. Yeah. So LaRosa went even further when asked whether Anthony Bernal could plausibly claim he never noticed Joe Biden's mental decline. LaRosa didn't defend him. He didn't say it was unlikely. He didn't say Bernal would be honest. Instead, he just said this: Anthony had more access and proximity to the Bidens in their private time and spaces. He would know. Now, read that again. He would know. Now, that's not speculation. That is a confirmation that Bernal was a witness, a front row spectator to whatever was happening inside the residence, inside the Oval, inside the mind of a man who many Americans already believed was no longer fit to serve. And now that man is being dragged into the light, subpoenaed, pressured, and possibly cornered into finally answering the questions that millions have been asking for years. Was Joe Biden mentally capable of even leading this country? Or was the presidency being quietly managed by unelected staffers behind the scenes, all the while the American people were being told, oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine. The guy, Joe Biden, he's cool. He's straight. He's sharp as a tack. And as it turns out, the cover up may go beyond Bernal, because I want to really expose how official U.S. documents, including pardons and policy memos, have been signed by machine while nobody knows who actually authorized it. So just when you thought that this just couldn't get any more bizarre, it does. Because now we're learning that in the final year of Joe Biden's presidency, important legally binding documents were being signed by a machine. That's right, guys. We're talking about the AutoPen. Now, we did talk about this a while back. This is a device that literally replicates a signature without the person being physically present. It's being used before. This is not the first time, though. It's been used before for routine authorizations. But in this particular case, it was used for pardons, presidential memos, executive authorizations. And who revealed it? Neera Tanden, senior advisor to Biden and longtime DC operative. So she testified under oath that she was authorized to use the AutoPen, that she signed off on major documents using that device. But when asked a basic critical question, who gave you authority? Tanden admitted she didn't know. You heard that right, guys. One of the top advisors in the White House was executing presidential level decisions with a robotic signature, and nobody can say who approved it. Folks, this is not a joke. This isn't a glitch in the paperwork. This raises some deep constitutional concerns. Was President Biden even mentally capable of reviewing or even approving these documents? Were decisions being made by staffers acting in his name while the man elected to lead the country was barely functioning behind closed doors? More than 52% of Americans now say there should be a full investigation into who was really running the country during Biden's final stretch in office. And I think that they're right. Do you agree? Let me know, guys, because this isn't about partisanship. This is about transparency, legality, and national security. The American people deserve to know. They deserve to know who was governing when Joe Biden wasn't, who was signing when Joe Biden couldn't, and what was the real role of unelected advisors like Bernal and Tanden and maybe some other names inside the Biden machine that we haven't even learned of yet, right? And so while they scramble to cover their tracks, the media is losing their grip because no matter how hard they try to spin this narrative, Trump just proved he is still in command and they cannot stand it. So while Trump was launching one of probably the most successful strategic strikes in American history, the media was doing exactly what they've always done, trying to downplay it, discredit it, and distract you. CNN, they ran with the story that Iran's nuclear program was largely unaffected, that Fordow had minimal damage, that the strike was symbolic, and now they've been completely exposed because the International Atomic Energy Agency, the Israeli Atomic Commission, and even the Iranian state media have confirmed what we knew from the start. Fordow is obliterated. The enrichment centrifuges are destroyed. The facility is no longer operational, and it won't be for years. But instead of correcting the record, what did CNN do? Oh, they doubled down. They put up Natasha Bertrand, or as some are now calling her, Nasty Natasha, the same reporter who spread the fake, false Russia hoax, pushed the lie that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, backed the fake suckers and losers hoax, and even twisted the fine people on both sides lie to smear Trump again and again. And now she is the face of a story meant to convince you that Iran's nuke program survived and Trump's strike was a flop. This person has no credibility with anyone now. It's disgusting. It's insulting, it's dishonest, and it's falling apart in real time. Even MSNBC's Morning Joe, normally a Trump bashing echo chamber, they had to hit pause and say, hold on, we've seen this movie before. Oh, and over at CNN, Jake Tapper, he's trying to cover his tracks saying, oh, we were just asking questions. Oh, really, Jake? Where were the questions when Biden was skipping stairs, slurring sentences, or getting visited weekly by an Alzheimer's specialist, right? Where were you then? Where was your skepticism when executive orders were being signed by AutoPen and the president was nowhere to be found? No. Now they want to play journalists, right? Now that President Trump just crushed Iran's nuclear capability, restored peace through strength, and made fools out of the fake news cartel, now they suddenly want to start asking questions. Please, you don't want truth. They want control. Okay. But Joe Biden, that guy, definitely a piece of work. The whole cover up is it's a sham. But President Trump just ripped that control away from them again. So just when you think that the meltdown couldn't go any deeper, here comes Chuck Schumer, the man who once promised to defend democracy, now looking like he just sprinted off the elliptical and just forgot his talking points. So after being briefed on Operation Midnight Hammer, after being shown clear classified evidence that Iran's nuclear program has been crippled for years, what does Chuck Schumer do? He gets in front of cameras and says, and I quote, "There was no coherent strategy, no end game, no plan." No plan? Is this guy brain dead? Chuck, the plan was simple. Bomb the sites where Iran builds nuclear weapons, shut down enrichment, deter retaliation with overwhelming military force, open negotiations only from a position of strength. That's not just a plan. That's peace through power, and it's been the most effective doctrine for the last 50 years. So here's what Chuck Schumer will not say. He himself is terrified because the more success that Trump has on the world stage, the more pressure builds back on Capitol Hill, where the leak that tried to sabotage this operation may have originated. So remember, the initial false intelligence leak that downplayed the Iran strike, that didn't come from the Pentagon. That didn't come from the military. It likely came from inside Congress, and the FBI is now investigating that. That's right, guys. There's now an open inquiry into who leaked classified strike details to the media, and DOJ officials confirmed this week that there is no immunity for lawmakers. So in other words, if a member of Congress, Democrat or Republican, leaked classified info to sabotage a U.S. military mission or embarrass Trump, they could be looking at serious prison time. And that is why the Democrats are panicking, because they know if Trump's DOJ finds that leaker, it's not just an indictment. It is proof that the same people who covered for Joe Biden's decline, who mocked Trump's warnings, and who leaked lies to CNN are the same ones who may have compromised national security to score political points. And Trump, this guy's not backing down. He's called for full prosecution of whoever leaked the Fordow strike plan and said clearly, this person should be jailed, period. That's leadership. That's law and order. That is what happens when you put America first and globalist games last. And while Democrats scramble for damage control, President Trump is already laying out his next move, one that could reshape the entire Middle East, bring allies closer, and crush terrorism at the roots. So while Biden staffers dodge subpoenas and the media eats crow, President Trump is already thinking 3 steps ahead. Because the Fordow strike wasn't just a military mission. It was a strategic checkmate, a move on the chessboard that forces Iran and the global community to respond on Trump's terms, not theirs. And those terms, they're not just about weapons. They're about recognition. For the first time in decades, the U.S. position is this: Iran doesn't get the bomb. Iran doesn't get appeasement. Iran must recognize the Jewish state of Israel. That's right, guys. President Trump has made it clear. No deal is happening unless Iran publicly and permanently acknowledges Israel's right to exist. That's not just foreign policy. This is moral clarity. And let's not forget, this isn't Trump's first time securing peace in the Middle East. He's the architect of the Abraham Accords, which brought together Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco. And now more nations are coming. Gulf states that once remained neutral or even hostile, they're now signing on. Why? Because under Trump, they know 2 things. America doesn't abandon its allies. And when Trump draws a red line, it means something. This isn't Obama. This isn't Obama-style backroom diplomacy with pallets of cash. This is America first with a handshake and a spine and a pair of balls. And the impact, it's already visible. Iranian proxies are backing down. Israeli leadership is unified. Gulf investors are expanding trade talks with the United States. And the region, once on the brink, is now looking at a new future. But the left, of course, they can't stand it, because every peace deal Trump signs, every nuke site he neutralizes, and every alliance he strengthens is another reminder of what they never had: real results. Okay? So while legacy politicians fumble and the media gasps for air, President Trump's doing what he does best: leading with vision and results. It's not just military victories. We're seeing a Trump-led economic and geopolitical resurgence in real time. The stock market is surging, on track to hit all-time highs again. The energy sector is booming, with U.S. oil exports increasing and prices at the pump dropping fast. And new trade negotiations are underway, with Europe, Asia, and the Middle East scrambling to realign after President Trump's back-to-back wins in diplomacy and defense. So think about it. While the media was mocking him, while DC insiders whispered, while the deep state leaked, Trump kept moving quietly, strategically, relentlessly. And now even our allies are taking notice, okay? According to insiders from recent NATO summits, foreign leaders, yes, even those who once criticized Trump, are now calling him Daddy Trump. I can't make this stuff up, guys. And while that might sound like a meme, it's rooted in a simple truth. The world respects strength, the world respects clarity, and the world respects a president who knows exactly what he's doing. So whether it's Fordow, the border, tariffs, or foreign policy, Trump isn't governing by committee. He's not outsourcing decisions to staffers. He is not signing documents by machine. He's doing the job himself with full control, full confidence, and full accountability. And here at home, Americans are feeling it. Patriotism is rising, consumer confidence is rebounding, and for the first time in years, the average citizen is looking at Washington and saying, maybe we are in good hands. But just as Trump's star rises, Biden's shadow is fading fast. Jill Biden's her inner circle is now just completely exposed at this point. It's clear the old guard is collapsing, and the cover-up just can't hold any longer. So, as Trump leads America forward, the last remnants of Biden's White House are falling apart in real time. Think about what we covered, guys. Anthony Bernal, the man closest to Joe Biden, a gatekeeper to the president, is now under subpoena. Neera Tanden, unable to explain who authorized presidential signatures. Classified documents leaked from Congress. Staffers openly admitting they dodged transparency, hid the president's health, and ran the show in secret. This is not politics. This is reckoning. For years, guys, the American people were told Joe Biden was fine, that the gaffes didn't matter, that the slurred words were harmless, that the stumbles were just fatigue. But now we're hearing from the very people who were actually there. And they're saying what we all suspected was true. Biden wasn't running the country. Staffers were covering for him. And when the heat rose, they hid, they dodged, and they signed his name. And while all of this was happening, the media told you Trump was the danger, that Trump was a threat to democracy. So let me be clear. Trump didn't lie about cognitive decline. Trump didn't use machines to fake signatures. Trump didn't leak military secrets to sabotage a strike. Trump acted decisively, transparently, and strategically. And that's why he's winning again, while the Biden era power structure is crumbling under the weight of its own lies. And so this is the contrast that the country really needed to see. And now that the lights are on, nothing will be the same again. So America's turning a page. The lies are exposed. The leakers are being hunted, and the leadership has returned. And the man standing tall at the center of it all is Donald J. Trump. This wasn't just a good week for Trump. It was a defining moment for the country, a moment that separated truth from spin, strength from weakness, and patriotism from political theater. And as these subpoenas go out, as truth emerges, and as America rebuilds under real leadership, we can say with clarity, Trump wins again, and we're just getting started. So if you're tired of getting lied to, if you're proud to see America rise again, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and share this video so more people can hear the truth. Let's keep exposing the lies, and let's keep building the truth. And let's keep fighting for the very country that we love. We'll see you next time.